My mind's telling me, yo, fam, we're on the curb as Robert finally walked through them gates, and the streets ain't waste a single second pulling up on him. The man barely got fresh air in his lungs before things got loud. Real loud. People have no idea that there's two different men. That there's the person Robert. There's a persona R, Kelly. Strap in, because what really went down the moment them jail doors swung open is a whole new movie. Cigar Lounge Run, Failed Appeals, Solitary Heat. February 25th, 2019 was the day Robert Kelly turned a regular Monday into a whole movie. After spending about 4 days in Cook County Jail on state sexual abuse charges connected to 4 victims, 3 of them minors, a suburban Chicago woman went and posted his $100,000 bond around 5:25 in the evening. Them jail doors cracked open and the man was free for now. Anyway, what he did next is the part that lives forever on the internet. Dude rolled out in a black van, and about 30 minutes later, the van pulls up at the iconic rock and roll McDonald's in Chicago's River North area. Yo, fam, of all the spots a free man could choose, our boy hopped out for some chicken nuggets and Big Macs. He started signing autographs, shaking hands, and posing for selfies with fans like he was at a meet and greet. One fan reportedly hollered, "I love you," while he waved back smiling. The McDonald's pit stop wasn't even the main attraction. From them golden arches, his crew rolled over to Big's mansion, an upscale cigar lounge sitting pretty in the ritzy Gold Coast neighborhood. He spent hours up in. They're kicking back with cigars while his actual life was on fire outside them lounge doors. The whole sequence, jail to fast food to cigar lounge in one evening, became a defining visual of his brief freedom. Now, hold up. The cigar action didn't stop there. Months later on Easter Sunday, April 21st, 2019, TMZ caught dude posted up outside his Trump Tower condominium in Chicago. Robert was next to a Rolls Royce, puffing on this giant cigar like he was a lead in a gangster flick, smoking it down the stub while gabbing on his cell phone. Headlines noted he didn't, seemed worried, and looked carefree. This man had child support drama and federal heat circling him, but he was out there looking like a man on permanent vacation. Around the same window, Robert sat down with Gayle King for that infamous CBS interview. When she asked him what allegations were bothering him most, dude went off the rails. "What are the lies that you're hearing that disturb you most?" "Oh my God. All of them. Little girls trapped in the basement." That whole sit-down was peak Robert. Energy. He was denying everything, throwing his hands around, and getting hot about being painted as a monster. They was describing Lucifer. "I'm not Lucifer. I'm a man. I make mistakes." Real talk. The contrast between him crying on national television and then casually grabbing a Big Mac is exactly why these clips keep resurfacing online. Fast forward years later, the carefree autographs, the giant cigars, the Rolls Royce. All of it clashes hard with him sitting in a federal prison with a release date in 2045. That contrast is gold for memes and ironic commentary across TikTok, Instagram, Reels, X, and Facebook. The misinformation crowd really runs with it. 2. Old videos get reposted with captions claiming a new release, escape, or pardon. Polytact had come out in 2024 confirming the singer is still incarcerated, and that 2019 bail footage was being recycled with misleading captions. Some manipulated versions add fake subtitles or pair the clips with AI-generated prison songs to push the narrative further. The Trump Tower cigar especially keeps catching memes, alongside large cigar videos. Recent April 2026 chatter on X still references it humorously whenever somebody pulls up smoking a fat one. The McDonald's footage ties into ironic posts, especially since allegations from the surviving R. Kelly documentary noted he had approached teenage girls at McDonald's locations. In early 2026, when reports started circulating that Robert's projected release date was December 21st, 2045, social media went into a frenzy. Instagram Reels and TikToks pulled them old 2019 cigar lounge, clips with captions like, "This was him. Last time he was free." Some posts pushed false early release claims that fact checkers immediately had to bury. Now, let's break down the legal grind. Robert's team has been swinging at every angle trying to crack this thing open. His attorneys, names like Jennifer Bonjan and Bo Brinley, ran the whole playbook. The New York conviction in 2021 hit him with 30 years for racketeering and sex trafficking. The Chicago conviction in 2022 added 20 years for child pornography production, with 1 year running consecutively. The math gives us an effective sentence of around 31 years and a projected release. Date of December 21st, 2045, when a man will be pushing 79 years old. The appeals hit every floor of the building. The Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals unanimously upheld the New York convictions and 30-year sentence on February 12, 2025. The court said his arguments were without merit and confirmed Robert exploited his fame for over 25 years. The Seventh Circuit handled the Chicago appeal and upheld that one too. Then his team tried the Supreme Court. October 2024, denied. May 2025 petition. The Supreme Court declined to hear the appeal a second time on June 23, 2025. That basically slammed the door on direct appeals. Robert's stance from his earlier interview already had him playing the victim. I have been assassinated. I have been buried alive, but I'm alive. But the team kept swinging hard. August 2025, they filed a motion to disqualify the entire U.S. Attorney's Office from the case. Judge Martha Packold rejected that one as lacking justification and failing the high legal standard, calling it extreme. The wildest move came in June 2025 when an emergency motion claiming 3 Bureau of Prisons officials were running a murder for hire plot allegedly recruiting an Aryan Brotherhood inmate to take Robert out. They claim mail tampering and improper use of attorney-client info, too. Attorney Bo Brinley held a press conference framing Robert as exposing corruption, similar to issues President Trump has addressed. The team also publicly appealed to Trump for clemency, bypassing standard processes. Judge Pico denied it, citing lack of jurisdiction since Robert sits in North Carolina, not Chicago. Prosecutors call the allegations fanciful and deeply unserious. In his older Gayle King moment, Robert had basically rehearsed his victim energy. IG 30 years of my career. Robert, 30 years of my career. Are y'all trying to kill me? The sentence length itself stays controversial. Fam, on one side, victims' advocates argue 30 years is light given decades of alleged abuse involving dozens of victims, many of them minors. On the flip, some commentators call 30 years harsh for non-homicide crimes and question the RICO application to a solo artist instead of a traditional criminal enterprise. Sentencing judges emphasize the calculated pattern over 25 years, showing indifference to human suffering. Fast forward to mid-February 2026, Robert finds himself back in hot water. He got placed in solitary confinement, what the feds called a special housing unit at FCY Butner Medium 1. The reason? A cell search triggered by a cellmate getting caught with a contraband phone uncovered Robert's notebook with a personal cell phone number of a retired prison official, specifically a former warden. Hear me out. This wasn't some completely shady move. On the surface, Robert had been participating in a prison mentoring program overseen by this official. Before the warden retired, he reportedly handed Robert his personal number for advice on the program. Attorney Brinley emphasized the contact was legitimate, but prison officials viewed any personal contact info for a retired official as a security flag, especially showing up alongside a contraband phone. They opened an internal investigation and put Robert in the SHU as a precautionary move. Brinley described the conditions as devastating. Inmates in the SHU spend about 23 hours a day in their cell with severely limited access to commissary, phone calls, visits, recreation, and programming. Robert lost all those privileges while isolated for approximately 2 weeks. In an old Gayle King moment, Robert had already broken down asking for support. I need help. By mid-March 2026, the internal review found no wrongdoing. Robert got returned to general population. Brinley called extended hold without legitimate cause and unfair. Black Enterprise reported on the resolution. The Bureau of Prisons declined to comment on internal security matters, which is standard practice. The fan reaction was a whole circus. The Free R. Kelly camp went nuclear, posting outrage and conspiracy theories about target harassment. Common complaints included, they always find a reason to mess with him and claims of retaliation to derail his appeals. Critics and victims' advocates flipped the script with reactions ranging from indifference like he deserves worse to sarcasm and reminders of his crimes. Robert had even hinted at needing more than just legal help in past interviews. "I need somebody to help me not have a big heart." But fam, this whole solitary situation in February 2026 wasn't even his first rodeo behind them prison walls. The drama goes way deeper, and what's been going down inside the federal system is a whole other movie that needs telling. Beatdown plots and cell block chaos. Robert Kelly's been in continuous federal custody since July 2019, and the man's prison file reads like a screenplay nobody asked for. He started off at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in downtown Chicago, where the drama kicked off almost immediately. Shortly after his arrival, Robert found himself in the SHU. His legal team initially claimed it was without justification, but reports painted a different picture. Dude had reportedly requested protective housing because he was scared of other inmates. He saw solitary as the safer option for somebody facing the kind of charges he was carrying. By September 2019, attorney Stephen Greenberg confirmed Robert had been moved out of the SHU and either into general population or given a cellmate. Prosecutors later noted in court filings that Robert had a cellmate for some time, disputing claims of prolonged unjust isolation. So already before any verdict, the man's prison stay was getting messy and his legal team was already painting a picture for the public. Then came August 2020, the incident that put Robert in the headlines for getting straight up jumped. Yo, fam. While Robert was either asleep or sitting on his bed in his cell at MCC Chicago, a fellow inmate named Jeremiah Shane Farmer entered the cell and assaulted him. Farmer was convicted Latin Kings gang member already serving life for a double murder. Dude reportedly punched Robert multiple times in the head and body. Guards eventually intervened with one using pepper spray after verbal commands failed. Robert came out with cuts, bruises, and minor injuries, but nothing life-threatening. All things considered, the attack happened during lockdowns at the facility, and some reports linked Farmer frustration to repeated lockdowns triggered by protests outside related to Robert's case, plus general COVID-19 restrictions hitting different inside the walls. After the assault, Robert got moved to the SHU for his own protection. Attorneys Tom Farinella, Doug Anton, and Steve Greenberg publicly called for his immediate release on bail, arguing the prison couldn't ensure his safety. Now, this is where it gets wild. Farmer himself dropped a handwritten court motion claiming MCC staff essentially encouraged or allowed the attack. He alleged officials told him to go do it to draw attention to his own unrelated case. Farmer said guards followed him, let the beating continue for a time, and only intervened later. Prosecutors and prison officials disputed these claims as unfounded. Farmer faced no additional charges specifically for the Robert assault in major reports since the man was already serving life anyway. MCC Chicago at this time was a whole mess of issues, including violence, staffing shortages, and poor conditions that eventually led to partial closure of the facility. Robert's lawyers used the incident heavily in bail requests, but every one of them got denied. The event sparked debates about whether Robert was getting special treatment or whether he was actually unprotected because of the nature of his crimes. By early 2023, after his sentencing's finished up, Robert got transferred to FCI Butner Medium 1 in North Carolina, a medium security facility that houses many offenders. That's where the next big incident kicked off in June 2025. And this one had everything packed in on June 10th, 2025. Shortly after Robert's legal team filed an emergency motion for temporary furlough or home confinement, dude got placed in SHU. The emergency motion alleged a murder for a hire plot orchestrated by Bureau of Prisons officials who supposedly recruited a white supremacist Aryan Brotherhood inmate to kill Robert. The motion also claimed mail tampering to pressure or intimidate witnesses and improper use of attorney-client privileged information from a cellmate. His attorneys claimed the SHU placement itself was retaliatory. While Robert was in solitary on or around June 12th and 13th, his lawyers alleged staff administered an overdose quantity of his prescribed anxiety and sleep medications. They said the dose far exceeded his normal prescription. Robert reportedly collapsed, crawled to his cell door, lost consciousness, and was transported by ambulance to Duke University Hospital in Durham, North Carolina. Doctors treated him for issues including blood clots in his lungs. Dude was hospitalized for about 2 days. The legal team alleged he was removed from the hospital against medical advice and at gunpoint before completing needed treatment, then returned to solitary. Robert reportedly refused some prison meals out of poisoning fears and compared his situation to Jeffrey Epstein's death in custody, saying he would feel safer locked in his regular cell. Real talk. This whole sequence became the basis for supplements to the emergency motion attorney Brinley held. Press availability, framing it as part of a plot or corruption. The team publicly appealed to President Trump for immediate clemency with statements describing Trump as the only person with the courage to fight corruption in the prosecution of public figures. They claimed contact with unnamed members of Trump's circle and sought a direct conversation. No formal clemency application through normal channels was pursued at that time. Judge Pohl denied the release request around June 19th and 20th, 2025, citing lack of jurisdiction since the matter was tied to a North Carolina facility and finding no legal basis for relief. Prosecutors dismissed the allegations as fanciful, deeply unserious, and a mockery of victims' harm. A planned hearing was canceled. Prison and BOP sources described the hospitalization as routine medical care, not an intentional overdose. Even in the middle of all this, Robert was reportedly still musically active behind them prison walls. TMZ reported in March 2025 that he was singing during a podcast interview from prison, keeping that musical activity alive somehow. Footage even surfaced online of him performing classics for his jailmates while his lawyers were filing emergency motions about his life being in danger. Wild contrast right there. Throughout all these incidents, certain patterns kept showing up. Robert's team consistently framed the SHU placements as punitive par plots or inhumane treatment to support release motions, all of which were denied. The Bureau of Prisons and prosecutors treated them as standard protocol and disputed the exaggeration. No public records show long-term or repeated disciplinary SHU time for actual infractions like fighting or contraband possession by Robert himself. His high-profile status as a celebrity offender likely contributed to more frequent protective or investigative housing decisions. The 2020 MCC assault remained the primary documented physical attack on Robert in prison, with no other major fights involving him publicly confirmed. Most of his SHU time clustered around 3 specific reasons: safety and protective custody from the early 2019 stints in the 2020 attack, administrative investigations like the 2026 phone number drama, and the retaliation and mistreatment claims tied to his legal motions in 2025. The June 2025 hospitalization especially generated polarized reactions across social media. Supporters viewed it as evidence of targeted harm and corruption inside the federal system. Skeptics treated it as exaggerated claims meant to support release efforts after his appeals had been exhausted. The whole storyline tied directly into ongoing post-conviction filings for a new trial in the Chicago case. Worth noting that the facilities themselves had legitimate problems on their own. MCC Chicago had documented issues with violence, drugs, and COVID-19 conditions during Robert's stay there, and the facility eventually had to partially close. FCI Butner has faced scrutiny in reports over medical and housing issues separate from anything Robert specific. So, the conditions weren't necessarily designed to target one inmate, even if Robert's team painted them that way. The June 2025 incident also brought up some of the most colorful allegations in his legal filings. Beyond the murder for hire plot and overdose claims, Robert's attorneys alleged BOP officials had improperly accessed attorney-client privileged communications through his cellmate, that mail was being tampered with to pressure or intimidate witnesses, and that the entire scheme constituted constitutional violations rising to cruel and unusual punishment. When Judge Packold led the planned hearing and denied the motion, Robert's legal team announced plans to file a motion to vacate the Chicago convictions based on newly discovered evidence related to the alleged plots. As of late 2025, extensions were granted for responses on a motion for a new trial in the Chicago case, with deadlines stretching into early 2026. Claims of threats to his life, solitary confinement issues, and medical neglect continued to surface in filings throughout the period. None of this yielded release. The court system kept treating the allegations as either insufficient in evidence or outside their jurisdiction. The Bureau of Prisons stayed quiet on most of it, citing security and privacy reasons. For all the noise about plots, attacks, overdoses, and isolation, the man's projected release date stayed locked at December 21st, 2045. Every emergency motion got denied. Every appeal got upheld. The system just kept running on Robert's case like it was on autopilot. But fam, the real question is how he ended up in this position in the first place. The trial that locked him up wasn't no random situation, and the story behind him conviction stretches way back. Decades of drama that locked him up. Robert Sylvester Kelly was born in 1967 and rose from Chicago's South Side to become one of the most successful R&B artists of all time. Hits like I Believe I Can Fly, Ignition Remix, and Grammy nods stacked up over the years. But behind the chart-topping music, allegations of sexual misconduct started piling up in the early 1990s and never really stopped. The first major moment came in 1994. Robert married his 15-year-old protégée, Aaliyah, while he was 27, using a falsified marriage certificate that listed her as 18. The marriage was later annulled. Witnesses in later trials testified that Robert had sexual contact with Aaliyah when she was as young as 13 or 14, and that he bribed an official to facilitate the union after she believed she was pregnant. A former tour manager named Demetria Smith testified he bribed a state employee around $500 for a fake ID listing Aaliyah as 18. Lawsuits started rolling in fast. 1996 brought allegations he impregnated a 15-year-old and pressured her to have an abortion. More suits followed in the late 1990s and early 2000s from families claiming he pursued underage girls. Then in 2002, authorities investigated a leaked videotape allegedly showing Robert having sex with and urinating on a 14-year-old girl. He got charged with 21 counts of child pornography in Illinois. Robert's 2008 state trial in Chicago ended in acquittal on all 14 counts after the alleged victim and her family did not testify. Defense witnesses, including her father, cast doubt on her identity on the tape. The acquittal allowed Robert to keep operating for years, but Sparkle, who was a key prosecution witness, said the alleged victim on the tape was her own niece. Oh, my niece on the 26-minute tape. Sparkle stayed estranged from her family for a decade behind that case. The Chicago Sun-Times have been covering Robert for years, and reporter Kathy Cheney joined Sparkle on Windy City Live to break it down for the public. There's a difference between R. Kelly and Robert. Ari Kelly is this fun, laughing, loving guy. But Rob testified that Robert groomed her starting at age 13 as a godfather figure. The jury convicted him on 6 of 13 counts, with 3 counts of child pornography production and 3 of enticement. He got 20 years, mostly concurrent with the New York sentence. The sentencing judge described his conduct as calculated, regularly executed for almost 25 years with indifference to human suffering. The career impact was nuclear. After the 2021 New York verdict and 2022 Chicago conviction, his career was effectively over in any traditional sense. No major label support, no tours, no mainstream promotions. His music faced further deplatforming on some services. Ironically, the convictions actually triggered short-term sales surges, with album sales soaring over 500% in the week after the 2021 verdict, and streams up around 22 to 23% across hits like Ignition Remix and I Believe I Can Fly. While in prison, Robert hasn't released any official authorized studio albums, but he's been creatively active. In March 2025, he released a remix of Residual tied to a popular social media challenge recorded fairly recently from FCY Butner. His attorney described it as evidence he was still creative and not letting prison get in the way. In early 2026, an audio clip of Robert singing over Chris Brown's It Depends circulated. Teddy Riley and Chris Brown shared or commented on it positively on Instagram, with Riley calling Robert the king of R&B and teasing new music. Robert has also claimed in prison phone interviews to have written approximately 25 albums since incarceration, describing music as an uncurable, beautiful disease. Most of what circulates as new R. Kelly from Prison, like full gospel albums titled Prisoner's Prayer or Holy Jesus, is AI-generated or fan-made content. Fact checks like AFP have debunked viral prison music videos as AI fabrications with unnatural visuals or voices. A 2022 bootleg album titled I Admit It briefly appeared on platforms but was unauthorized and pulled with Robert's team disavowing it. Robert has maintained consistent claims of innocence throughout his incarceration, framing allegations as extortion, media hysteria, or smears amplified by social media. He's blamed accusers, opportunists, and biased coverage. In legal filings, his team argues the RICO application was overreached and evidence insufficient. In a March 2025 podcast appearance called Inmate Tea with ANP, Robert sang snippets of classics like When a Woman's Fed Up and Bump and Grind. He described music as a lifelong passion. He continues daily claim to have written about 25 albums and said he is working on getting out while using patience strategically. Public discourse stays polarized. Supporters see his prison statements as proof of an unbreakable spirit and innocence. Critics see them as tone-deaf or manipulative given the victim testimonies and jury findings. Memes and misinformation, including false release rumors, often accompany any new coverage of a situation. His December 2045 projected release date stays locked. Every appeal got denied. Every emergency motion got tossed. The cigar lounge moments from 2019 might keep resurfacing on timelines forever, but the man who lit them up isn't lighting nothing else outside them prison walls anytime soon. The streets keep talking, the clips keep recycling, and the receipts stay receipts. It's bye for now. Until next time, fam. Don't forget to click on the card showing on the screen for more of such clips.